I did want to just start off with a high-level overview of what's going on here in New York State. New York State, we passed MRTA back in 2021. In October, we created the Cannabis Control Board as well as our Office of Cannabis Management. Since then, we've spent 2022 ramping up the office, working on a first set of regulations. We have made changes to our medical program, as well as rolled out some temporary regulations because our New York State legislature passed the Seeding Opportunity Initiative in the state, which gave us an opportunity to quickly onboard and to sort of create a fast ramp for us to begin cultivation and sales in the state. We are currently operating in the Seeding Opportunity Initiative when people talk about our conditional growers, conditional licenses, and our conditional dispensaries. In tandem, we are also working on our regular adult use regulations. We have 9 license types. We were giving the criteria for them as well as price points, or what we projected the cost would be to get one of those licenses. On average, a license in cannabis in New York State runs about $5,000 to $7,000 generally. We have cultivating, nurseries, processing, manufacturing, micro, cooperative, dispensary, consumption spaces, as well as delivery. So all of them are broken up. People who are on the cultivation and processing, manufacturing, distribution side are restricted to only having interest in that one side, while on the other side, which we're referring to as our retail side, our dispensaries, our delivery and consumption spaces, if you have interest on that side, then you can only have an interest there. We believe that we are moving things forward and that we have at least learned some lessons already. One we've learned from other states, and that's given us the framework for what we're working with here in New York State. We wanted to bifurcate the market, that we wanted to make sure that we had different license types, that we were able to on-ramp people from, I want to say, all stages of business. We are really focused on trying to have a competitive market. I think that we have all learned over the recent years that the laissez-faire open market strategy really doesn't always get us to the goals that we want. That markets are really constructed by our policy and that the outcomes are very much dependent on what we put into the structure. So we here in New York have really taken that to heart. We understand that we need a lot of on-ramping and we need lots of opportunity. And we really do believe that there will be space for all types of businesses in this design scheme that we've created. I think that we will have very large businesses as well as space for really small businesses to operate. But I also think that what we're doing here is that we're creating an opportunity for innovation. Because we have a lot of opportunity points, I think that we have created a regulatory scheme where people will be able to try and see if it works. And I think that's what we have in a lot of other spaces. Like, even if we just look at something as basic as food, which I like to liken cannabis to because it's a plant, it's a product that we can grow, there's a lot of applications for it. I think that we see a lot of innovation in food spaces because it's easy for people to try new ideas and to get distribution. And that's what I think that we're trying to afford in the cannabis space. I think that that's where we're going to see an exploration. We're going to see a lot of people coming in. And we have the opportunity points that allow them to enter without huge outlays of cash. Entering into a space where you're only spending $10,000 to $20,000 to kind of build out and think about what you want to do, because maybe you're a small processor and you're only producing, I don't know, maybe sometimes as small as 50 pieces, and still having an opportunity to figure out what that looks like in the marketplace and to be able to distribute that. And then I'm going to say, what are some of our challenges that we've been plagued with? The reality is that there's not a lot of money for people to use to actually get their businesses up and running. So here in New York State, we had the opportunity to explore what it would look like for a state-run fund to exist. And we met all of the challenges that everybody else in the marketplace hits. One, we're trying to finance small businesses. That generally is not the space where a lot of people want to put their money. there are retail businesses that we're about to fund. Again, not the place where a lot of people want to invest monies. And we're in cannabis. And we're in a marketplace that's different from our predecessors because it is not from the seed to sale control. And that's the way people have been thinking about their cannabis investments. So now we're trying to break new ground. And it's taken our fund much longer than they anticipated to raise those monies. Because of seeding opportunity, we do have a couple of test cases that people can look at. And on average, people already know that they're making $500,000 a week. That's the average of the 8 stores that are open in New York State at this moment. So people that are currently looking and talking to our fund are able to make projections to say, you know what, I think that these stores can do this type of business. This is what I can expect in a return, and that what an investment could look like. But this was a very narrow opportunity, this is very narrowly constructed opportunity for them because we wanted to raise money for retail. We were not raising money for our cultivators. We weren't raising money for our processors or people that are going to have distribution lines. It was just for retail. And so we now know that we can raise money for retail and what that could look like. And I hope that it's giving ideas to a whole bunch of other financiers to think about what would it look like for them to offer funds and loan opportunities to our businesses in the cannabis space. Then also, how do we expand beyond retail and start to come up with what real projections look like for cultivation space? And it might not look like the same tool. The folks who need a long-term or a term loan for retail it might not be the same demand in the cultivation or processing space. I was speaking to a group of MBAs. I said, what are the credit tools that we're using? We know that credit tools do not work for small businesses because none of them get loans. But that's really what this is about. It's about us reimagining what this regulatory space looks like so that we're creating opportunities and we're able to meet our goals for equity. And we're also able to challenge our other regulators in the space so that our bankers, for example, are looking and willing to reimagine what does it really mean for me to give a loan and what should I be considering in that process versus, I don't know, whether you paid your Macy's bill on time for the past 10 years, which probably any college kid could give proof of. I know we are all thinking and waiting for safe banking. I heard that CHIPS has been reintroduced federally, and that we think that we're going to see some progress in the insurance space. And those things are going to help us to really improve what operations look like. But I'm also really excited to see and hear what new financing looks like for our businesses. I think that we have set up a scheme in New York State that really does say that this is an opportunity moment, and if people are willing to think broadly about the opportunities before them, that they'll be able to find their place, and we will see growth, sustainable growth in New York State, well beyond federalization. How do we continue to stand up our businesses, and how do we secure our place in this space beyond federalization, but also as we move toward globalization?